Abby Whitford was just 10 years old when she died last week after being struck by a vehicle while crossing the intersection of 2nd and Washington in downtown Papillion. She succumbed to her injuries and died 2 days later in the hospital. Now the local community is focused on the bigger picture.
Traffic needs to slow down everywhere. It's not just down here. It's, people kind of just go with the flow of traffic, and most often than not, that's over the speed limit.
To enforce the rules that have always been there, Papillion PD has increased their police presence in the area.
Yeah, for the most part, it seems like they're hanging out a little more down here. We always see them driving by, but it seems like they're stopping on corners a little more often.
To keep pedestrians and other drivers safe.
I had a gentleman in the chair said that there was quite a few pullovers in this on this Washington Street area.
Tanner Leakus works at Papillion Barbers, right near the scene of the accident. He says some drivers have no idea what to do when it comes to that crosswalk.
At least the locals down here know a little more about it, but people that aren't in the Papillion area, they're pretty clueless on what to specifically do.
A blinking yellow light means to proceed with caution. A blinking red light would mean to stop.
Like I say, even if that light was red instead of yellow, it might be a little more for people to stop as compared to just, have an extra lookout.
Papillion PD says no matter what kind of crosswalk it is, pedestrians have the right of way. It is Nebraska law to stop if a pedestrian is crossing.
When you press the button, the person thinks it's safe to cross when it isn't,
Reporting in Papillion, Rudolph Sinaida, 3 News Now.
In 2017, an infant shot in what the father called an accident. While smoking weed, the son of Markel Bowie's friend, only a toddler, gets a gun and shoots the girl in the face.
You won't think that about a 1-year-old getting shot.
These are photos from Facebook of Malaya Bowie before the incident. Now another gun crime involving the father and daughter. Douglas County Judge Thomas Harmon finds enough evidence to move 24-year-old Markel Bowie to trial for felon in possession of a weapon. This is previous video of him. It stems from a July traffic stop near 43rd and Decatur.
Police say when they stopped Bowie and his girlfriend, they asked for license and registration. That's when he slowly opened the glove box and they saw the handle of a firearm. All this while his now 3-year-old daughter Malaya, a gun violence survivor, sat in the back seat.
Very disturbing that he still doesn't get that he shouldn't have a firearm.
Douglas County Attorney Don Klein says his previous felony conviction involving his daughter is why they charged him as a felon.
Guns and toddlers make no sense. From a parenting perspective, from any perspective, the fact that a gun is around a young child is not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination, let alone the fact that he's not supposed to have a gun in the first place.
Bowie was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2017 for negligent child abuse. With good time and time served, he spent 13 months in prison before being released in February. The girl's mother told police she and Bowie agreed to not be around firearms after Malaya was shot. I went to try to speak with Bowie at his home, but he wasn't there. Klein says they take gun crimes very seriously.
Once there is a conviction in this case, the judge is going to be very well aware of what his history is. And that's something that would be an important part of his sentencing.
Reporting downtown Omaha, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
After the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, multiple Republicans came out in support of a red flag law. This would allow police to take away guns from those reported for potentially violent behavior. Nebraska Republican Don Bacon agrees if the bill is written carefully, saying it could have stopped the Parkland shooting.
It's got to be a high threshold. Information from family, maybe neighbors, like he's killing his pets, that happens, right? And it cannot be something minor for going in for financial counseling at the VA.
Well, I absolutely think we need to go further than red flag laws.
Freshman Congresswoman Sidney Axney of Iowa was on the job just about a month when she, along with almost every House Democrat, passed a bill that requires background checks for every gun purchase. Right now, there's no federal mandate for private gun sales. She wants the Senate to pass the House bill.
So this is not a partisan issue. The majority of Americans believe that there should be universal background checks.
She's got numbers to back that up. A recent NBC Wall Street Journal poll shows 89% of Americans support universal background checks. Bacon voted against the bill, saying it goes too far. But he does believe there needs to be due diligence on who a person sells a gun to.
And I don't think it should be illegal for me. I mean, most of the guns I've received came from family members like my dad, father-in-law, grandparents. And I don't think families should have to do a background check on. I think that's intrusive.
Axney also wants to revive an expired ban on assault weapons. This would make firearms like the AR-15, used in multiple mass shootings, illegal.
These are not weapons that people need to protect them in their home. These are not weapons that people need, for hunting. These are weapons that are meant for mass destruction.
Bacon, along with the president and most congressional Republicans, disagree.
99% of Americans are law-abiding people and many folks that have a gun for self-defense. Some people have an AR-15 for self-defense. Some have it for, doing a hobby. My goal is to protect that 99%.
So I'm here near the UNO campus off 67th and Pacific, where we're near the newest parking garage here that they have at UNO. It's one of the best places you can park today. But I've got Sam Petto here with me. Sam is with the university. Sam, why should people come here to park? Why is this the best location?
Absolutely. Well, if students, faculty, or staff haven't figured out what they're going to do for parking yet, and we get that, people have a lot going on, the Pacific Street Garage is open parking this week. So it's a great opportunity for people to come, figure out what they're going to do in terms of transportation, get their feet wet, and enjoy the first week of school.
Now, Sam, you told me something special about this garage. I mean, first of all, it's huge, but why is this also one of the better spots to park?
Absolutely. It has never hit capacity yet, so that's a great option. If you want basically the equivalent of a guaranteed spot, you can't go wrong swinging by the Pacific Street Garage. Again, don't need a permit this week. It's also linked to our Dodge campus by a shuttle system. About once every 10 minutes, a shuttle rolls through. In fact, one just came by at the start of this live shot, so we'll see another by the time it's done.
All right, thank you, Sam. And you said there's some other options. I see your phone. You've got an app out here.
Yeah, that's
What's
right.
This app about?
So this is our shuttle tracking app. So
I'll hold it for you.
Thank you. So you can just sit in your car, watch, and say, okay, shuttle's coming up. I'm going to go hustle out to the stop. Until then, sit, listen to the radio, whatever you want to do. Check your phone, check your makeup on your phone. Aside from that, you can also use your student ID card as a city bus pass. Not a lot of students know that. Works 24/7. It's called MavRide. You just swipe your student ID card and ride. It's really that easy. I've done it.
Thank you so much, Sam. Here's your phone back. I appreciate that. So some really helpful tips there for students, first-time students, freshmen, wondering where to go. Now you have those resources for you and that app. Now there are a whole slew of events going on today at UNO. They've been going on since kind of this weekend, and they have just a lot of first day of school activities going on today. But the first one starts at 11 a.m. We'll have more details on those events on our website, so make sure you check 3newsnow.com. Reporting live from 67th and Pacific, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now this morning.
Well, the first Nebraska football press conference is in the books. I'm here with Phil Bergman. And Phil, what were your initial impressions from Husker players and head coach Scott Frost?
Yeah, the team seems really excited heading into this week 1 game against South Alabama. All fall, they've been practicing against each other. The position battles, it looks like we know who the starters are now. And I think the players are just really excited to hit and play against some other teams, this time the South Alabama Jaguars.
Yeah, head coach Scott Frost making note of he feels much more comfortable going into this season as opposed to last year when there were so many question marks, particularly at quarterback. That's the one benefit Nebraska has this year. They definitely know who their quarterback is in Adrian Martinez. As far as the backup job, it looks like Noah Vedral will be number 2 coming out of the gate.
Yeah, it's really exciting for Noah Vedral. Obviously, he's from Wahoo, Nebraska, right outside of Omaha, went to Bishop Neumann High School, played at the University of Central Florida. His freshman year was the backup to Mackenzie Milton on that undefeated team, and then transferred over, and he's a Nebraska kid through and through. His uncle is Matt Turman, who played for the Huskers at quarterback around the same time Frost was there. So it's an exciting time for the Vedral and Turman family that the next guy in that family lineage can play.
Coach Frost was saying throughout fall camp, Noah Vedral's throwing better than he's ever seen it, but also had high compliments for Luke McCaffrey, the true freshman, doing very well on that test, that preseason test that Mario Verduzco likes to give. So it'll be Martinez, Vedral, and then McCaffrey as far as quarterback depth. And a running back, Dedrick Mills, the JUCO transfer, he will be number 1, sharing the job with Maurice Washington. Not really much of a surprise there.
Not much of a surprise, especially with Washington's ongoing legal battles. I think Coach Frost is just keeping it safe right now. Mills seems, from what we've heard, to be doing a really good job in practice. And then Ramir Johnson, the freshman, might have an opportunity. There's a few other players that I'm sure we'll see time at running back.
Dedrick Mills, no stranger to contact. He said he's all about it. He loves going up against Mo Berry in practice. It's a welcome, friendly competition they have between each other. And speaking of Mo Berry, the black shirts handed out today, former Husker players who donned the black shirts here to give the current players their jerseys, a big moment for Nebraska defenders.
It's one of the best moments throughout the whole year, in my opinion. We talked to Cam Taylor about it. I asked him, hey, did you get your black shirt? And he said, you'll have to find out later. About 10 minutes later, we found out he had a black shirt. Alex Davis is the guy that I think it's really cool that he got a black shirt. He worked his way up from basically a backup to now being a black shirt this late in his career. I think it's a big honor for that guy.
Definitely. And also, you got to think about South Alabama coming in here. A lot of talk was about Troy today and how they came in here last year and shocked Nebraska. Coach Frost saying he doesn't want them to watch too much Troy tape because he wants them to focus on the present, but definitely got to be focused on game one, getting that under the belt, taking care of business so they have bigger fish to fry down the road.
I mean, Troy's a little bit of a better team than South Alabama is going to be, but obviously you just got to take care of business. I think the Huskers are right now a 35-point favorite in Vegas odds. They got to ignore all of that, take it play by play, and as they say, day by day, they get better and better.
South Alabama here Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on ESPN. For Phil Bergman, I'm Adam Kruger reporting from Memorial Stadium.
This new precinct is the biggest West Omaha has seen so far. With all 3 units all housed under one roof, you have the emergency response unit, the traffic unit, and the patrol unit. Now, crews are coming in right now to start construction for the day for this new precinct that's going to open up next month.
I'm hoping we get a little more coverage in the neighborhoods.
And next month, neighborhoods in Elkhorn and West Omaha will. The 5th Omaha Police Precinct opens on September 8th.
The city's growing, and it's growing in westward expansion, obviously. We think we need to have a footprint in West Omaha to ensure that the citizens of West Omaha are getting the police services that they need and deserve.
With crimes like vandalism, break-ins, and car thefts happening, people living there want to see a change, a heavier police presence, and they want police officers to respond quicker.
When this was originally Elkhorn, we had very good police coverage. As soon as the city was annexed, police coverage fell off.
The demand for officers in other precincts are decreasing, so some are being transferred west. But police want West Omaha residents to know that things are going to change for the better now that there will be more staffing.
The citizens of West Omaha are going to get better and increased police coverage. This should reduce response times to radio calls.
Making this the 3rd Western Police Precinct in Omaha and giving residents a peace of mind, knowing that police are actually down the street.
Omaha's trash for potentially the next 2 decades gets decided. The main issue is cost, trust, and if yard waste will be mixed in with trash or not. All include new larger trash carts. Residents I spoke to say more than anything, the trash needs to be picked up when they say it will.
Basically showing up on not necessarily time, but the right day, and not, or it doesn't sit there all till 5, 6 o'clock at night.
I'm not opposed to commingling. I kind of like it when they do pick up the yard waste at the same time as the trash, but I wouldn't be opposed to a separate bin either. It makes storage a little more difficult. Where do you put the 3 bins? But I'd be willing to work with that. If we knew we had both the reliability and the consistency.
The lowest bidder, WCS, would have a 3-cart system collecting everything separately. Mayor Stothert and the Public Works Department doesn't believe the company had the resources to handle a city like Omaha. They wanted FCC's 2-cart plan, then with unlimited yard waste pickup in the spring and fall. The City Council had more questions about why WCS wasn't initially seen as a realistic candidate, if the bid process was followed properly, and if FCC's history was thoroughly reviewed.
This is basically could be a 20-year deal worth approximately $500 million. So we got to get it right up front.
Councilwoman Amy Melton, seemingly one of the deciding votes, said 2 carts with yard waste separated 12 weeks a year was the best compromise. The plan is approved in a 4-3 vote.
At this point in time, I think the mayor has delivered on what I asked for. I wanted covered carts, separate yard waste, no tax increase.
The City Council also approved 6-1 that supplemental plan to have yard waste collected for 12 weeks during the spring and fall months. Now, the awarded contract is 10 years and will be approximately $24 million for FCC with increments each year. They will also have a chance to have 5-year extensions twice after that 10 years for a possible total of 20 years. Reporting in downtown Omaha, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
City has a budget for next year, but the council added in a few things that Mayor Gene Stothard did not. One of those being 2 additional housing inspectors as the city ramps up its revived inspection program. The city currently has 9. The mayor wanted 10, but the council voted to budget for 11.
When we look at our history here on housing inspectors, going back to 2013, we had 12 appropriated, and that's 6 years ago. And this year we'd only have 11 appropriated if this one is even approved. So to me, the city's growth alone would justify the addition of this position.
After the meeting, the mayor said that they still may not hire that 11th inspector in 2020.
We're not just going to hire it because it sounds good. We're going to hire somebody because we need them.
The only budget amendment to get a split vote was $63,000 in funding for a youth job training program. That program would push kids towards careers in trade labor jobs like electrician, carpenter, and plumber.
Not all of them kids are going to go to college. That's just the facts. And not all of them are going to go in the military. So let's get them on a path to improve their quality of life.
It passed with nay votes from council members Harding and Melton. Plus, Mayor Stothard says the group, Nebraska Center for Workforce Development, would have to apply using the normal grant process before getting any city money.
That is a brand new program. I don't think they have any history whatsoever with the program. It's based out of the Fire Union Hall. I saw what their plan is, and their plan was just about 6 half-hour meetings.
All the extra money approved Tuesday came from a special contingency fund, and it didn't affect the rest of the budget.
Like most athletes, DeAndre Rice has been through his fair share of injuries and doctor visits.
Kick out real strong for me.
But this particular injury stands out from the rest.
It was just a rush, just like having everything just stop. Having just a great summer, working out every day, grinding with your guys, just getting better, and then just having it all just come to a screeching halt.
This is a pretty devastating injury for really any young person, but particularly somebody like him who's an explosive athlete with aspirations to play college athletics.
During a football practice, DeAndre faced every athlete's nightmare.
He had both ACL tear, MCL tear in the knee. He also had meniscal tears on both sides.
I definitely was very angry about it. It kind of just put me in a dark place.
The stellar athlete was out for basketball, football, and track. The recovery process has been long, but also groundbreaking due to the new technology that was tested on DeAndre.
It's called biomechanics testing. So biomechanics is just understanding how the body moves and the forces that are used to move the body.
The technology uses sensors and plates to take a look inside the movements of the human body.
These retroreflective sensors that I have on my body here pick up my every movement from the cameras around the room. Now these plates also track my weight, so the computer screen behind me shows all of my movements that the researchers can track.
It's not visible to the naked eye, and so we are able to get very specific insight on how they're moving, and that's something that this system allows us to do.
Having something like this that's truly research caliber allows us to look at it in finer detail and kind of find the fine points that we want to work at before we get him back, ultimately on the field.
To DeAndre, it felt just like a video game, but in the end, it's this type of advanced technology and research that will help him heal and help him fulfill his dreams.
It's just a long time coming, just having that thought in the back of your head that you want to get back to where you used to be and perhaps even get better.
Especially since today was his first day having contact at practice since the injury.
I'm excited, definitely excited. I haven't got to hit anybody in a while.
Reporting in Omaha, Rudolph Sinaida, 3 News Now.
A handful of Huskers earning their black shirts earlier this week. One of them, senior D lineman Darian Daniels, older brother of Damian, the Oklahoma State transfer, earning the role of team captain less than a year into his time in Lincoln.
One thing I really wanted to do for my last year here is just enjoy every single minute of, the process, every minute of working out, every practice, and to maximize, everything that we do and just bring other people along.
That's what you want in your leader. You want him to be the hardest worker. And I think he just proved it to everyone. He earned the respect, and people love to follow him.
A dog is man's best friend.
Why? I don't know.
In this case,
dog as partner.
Yeah, she's like pretty much part of the family.
Jazz is your typical furry friend.
Not lacking in energy. Are you, girl?
She wants to play fetch and bask in the grass.
Her favorite thing to do is sunbathe.
But Jazz also has a day job.
You're actually getting real life what it looks like when she's searching.
For the last 8 years, she's been on the K-9 unit in Sarpy County, certified in both narcotics and patrol.
She's a very good detective.
But it's a bittersweet day for Jazz. After 8 years on the service, the dog is officially retiring.
Yeah, this is it, girl. She had gone to the vet for a follow-up, and we had found that she has pretty bad arthritis throughout the entire spine. So we figured it was probably time.
Round of applause for Jazz.
Sarpy County held a retirement ceremony Tuesday. Jazz got her favorite, a peanut butter cake. But don't worry.
You're wild.
She's not going anywhere soon.
Aren't you?
She's moving in with her now former partner, Deputy Oluzzi.
I told the sheriff, I said, if you don't let me keep her, I said, be prepared for me to take her and we're gonna run.
We'll have to check in to see how these roommates do in retirement.
It's my solid, as I call her. Huh.
Reporting in Sarpy County.
Take that ball. We're gonna take it all the way back to the car. She's like, heck yeah.
Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
1 year after a long winter with brutal temps and snowfall into March, the Farmer's Almanac says 2020 may not be much better, with 2/3 of the country facing a winter colder than normal, with the worst of it towards the end of January. Plus, the Midwest is slated for above average snow yet again.
How they come up with the predictions, I'm not sure. That's kind of a vetted secret.
Brian Smith with the National Weather Service says it's unclear how accurate it is or how they come up with their forecasts. All the almanac says is they put sunspot activity, tidal action of the moon, and the position of the planets into a formula and spit the predictions into this book. The National Weather Service forecasts, which will come out in a month or so, are centered around a computer model, taking in data like weather patterns and sea surface temperatures.
We put in science into the modeling that takes place and the predictions that come out of it. So we want people to follow that.
So are Omahans looking forward to a cold and wet winter that the almanac predicts? Well, we got a few answers.
I'm not looking forward to that. I really am not. So I don't have a four-wheel drive, so in digging out of the driveway, yeah, not the most appealing ideas.
I think money. I think a lot of money, you know, because snow removal is a very big thing in my life, you know what I'm saying? I make most of my living off of snow removal.
And Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Zeppelin is joining me now in studio. And Jim, the coming months, you're getting ready to put out a forecast of your own. How does that compare to the one that the Farmer's Almanac just put out?
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, they do have some great information in it, but it is general, it is broad. They cover the entire country, so they don't give you real specifics, even though they may say, okay, in this area it might snow more, it might be cold. It doesn't really break it down for the exact area that we're forecasting. So we're talking Nebraska and Iowa. We really fine-tune our forecast. And again, just our outlying area. So when it comes to that, we really wait until around October to get a better idea on what's going to be happening, the overall trends, and then we will release our forecast when we come up into about the middle part of November, right before Thanksgiving, because it will take several weeks, a couple of months for us to really get a good handle on what's going to be happening over the next several months.
Well, companies like Tesla are working to make driverless cars. Several of the world's largest auto manufacturers are committing to equip virtually all of their light-duty cars and trucks with automated safety features like automatic emergency braking. Morning anchor Courtney Johns looked into how many crashes features like this could prevent and talked to one man who says it may have saved his life.
John Molinaro is out on the road a lot.
It's going to be 400 or 500 hours a year.
And when you spend that much time behind the wheel, John says you need a car with all the bells and whistles.
Right after the gas station.
But there's one feature on his Subaru he didn't want to spend extra money on.
I thought it was just a useless $1,300 option.
That option was the automatic emergency braking, or AEB. This feature can sense what's in front of the vehicle. If it senses something the car could hit, it automatically hits the brakes.
The eyesight system is driven by 2 cameras located on either side of the rear view mirror.
Not having a crash in over 30 years, Molinaro didn't think he needed it. But within 1 week of buying his car, a cat ran across the highway.
Before I even knew there was a car there, this car braked hard and kept me from slamming into the back end of the other car. And the cat survived too.
About 4 years ago, 20 automakers made a commitment to equip a significant amount of their vehicles with crash avoidance technology by 2022. If they follow through on this, the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety estimates it will prevent 28,000 crashes by 2025.
I don't know if I'd be here or not, but I certainly avoided a very serious accident. Slamming into the back of somebody at 60 miles an hour isn't good for anybody.
Now, John says he can't imagine driving without AEB. Because even with his nearly perfect driving record,
I was ticketed for 56 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone.
John says it doesn't hurt to have an extra set of eyes on the road.
Like me, you'll never know when somebody's going to slam their brakes on in front of you.
While many studies suggest systems like AEB can prevent crashes, there still is a lot we don't know. Some worry having these extra safeguards could cause more problems because drivers may develop a false sense of security and not pay as much attention on the road. Others say the key is making sure the driver understands exactly what their vehicle's safety features actually can do and what its limitations are. You can find our Safe Roads Now coverage on our website at 3newsnow.com/nudes/SafeRoadsNow.
David Corbin teaches energy policy at Creighton University and is chair of the Nebraska chapter of the Sierra Club. He says if Earth were a body, the lungs would belong in the Amazon rainforest.
It's a major part of the lungs of the planet, and so it, just like our own lungs, if we have a large part of it that's not functioning properly, then that affects our whole body.
And right now, it's not functioning properly. The Amazon is on fire in record numbers.
The bulk of the evidence is actually pointing towards strategic or purposeful burning of the land by people.
This year is exceptional, and it's because they're clearing forests for farmland or for ranching.
And the problem seems far away, but it may be closer than you think. Paul Wenninghoff owns Wenninghoff Farms in northwest Omaha.
The farm we're on has been in the family since 1927.
He's been a farmer his whole life.
Yeah, it's like in the blood.
Experts say what's happening in the Amazon right now has the potential to affect weather and rainfall patterns here in the Midwest and all around the world.
One thing we know in environment is everything on Earth is connected to every other thing.
There is strong evidence, though, that one of the greatest concerns in the long term of the removal of the Amazon forest is its ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. For us in the Midwest, more CO2 in the atmosphere, a warmer environment, that's expected to bring more variable weather.
Variable weather, like more flooding.
Look at the floods we've had this year.
This, in turn, can affect Nebraska's agriculture and the livelihoods of farmers, like Paul.
It can impact people who never thought it would impact them.
Reporting in Omaha, Rudolph Sinaida, 3 News Now.
Wagon Train Lake is a popular place to visit, but it's one of several lakes in the state right now currently on health alert due to something that's lurking in the water.
It was a good day of fishing for Joe Biederman, who's familiar with this water.
Oh, I've been fishing around here for probably 40 years.
In those 40 years, Biederman keeps his eyes on the fish, but something else catches his attention.
Along the shoreline when you see that real toxic stuff.
The most common is, we like to say John Deere paint green, like somebody spilled a gallon of paint.
The shoreline along this lake is painted in this toxic algae, and if you can't see it, your nose will tell you.
Usually comes with a fairly rancid smell. You can usually, if it's a big bloom, you'll smell it when you get out of your vehicle.
The algae creates a toxic chemical, which will make you sick if you ingest it.
It's a liver toxin, so ingestion of it can lead to issues, pretty severe liver damage.
And cuts on your body opens the door for other illnesses.
If anybody's got cuts or anything, don't want to be swimming in the water, that's for sure.
Usually within a few hours to a couple of days, you'll likely get a rash.
While the impacts on an adult are not as severe, the same cannot be said for a family pet.
They'll clean their fur up, ingest that toxin, and unfortunately it usually doesn't end very well.
So the next time you visit a lake, look for signs of the toxic algae, not just in the water, but around it.
You come to a lake and you see the bright orange sign, that means that it has recently tested high for harmful algal blooms. If the lake is clear and has tested well, then it'll be a blue sign flipped up.
But you can still enjoy the water in other forms, minus swimming. Take it from someone who's been fishing in these waters for 2 decades.
You know, it's a good time. It's always good to get out.
At Wagon Train Lake, John Madden, 3 News Now.
Splash pads are a cool break from the August heat. And that goes for one little critter showing up at a family park.
She said, "Look, Mom, look at these." And she said, "They're so cute."
Crystal Kuchera took her kids to Cimarron Woods splash pad Tuesday evening.
Kind of floating around in there in the baggie.
This is video she took of about 100 little slimy animals her daughters picked up from the water and put in a bag.
Okay, and I'm looking at them like, I'm not really sure what those are. They're not slugs, they're not worms, they didn't look like leeches, but that was my first thought then. And so yeah, we were just curious about what they were.
She posted it on Facebook and got all kinds of responses, trying to figure out what they are or giving their reaction. Jody Green, an entomologist with the UNL Extension Office, says they're larvae from the soldier fly family.
A splash pad where there's water and there's soil around, especially in neighborhoods where they have parks, that's going to be pretty optimal for them to breed in. So that's probably why we're seeing them.
Green says these soldier fly larvae are harmless and actually pretty common, but may startle people because they're just not used to ever really seeing them.
Probably would have freaked out at first, but I don't like bugs at all, so nothing to be concerned about. I mean, kids want to play, so they will.
Soldier flies don't look like your typical house fly, but they're beneficial because they break down organic matter. Some are still crawling around the splash pad, but Green says no need to kill them, just move them to the grass. Crystal says her kids love learning new things about nature, and they'll definitely be back.
It was fun to find out that it was nothing to be concerned of, really, actually maybe beneficial. Honestly, probably my kids will go and want to explore and touch them some more. I don't know.
Reporting in La Vista, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
A few weeks ago, we looked inside one of Nebraska's first hemp farms in Plattsmouth, and they seem to be doing pretty well growing their hemp until they started facing new challenges. The Wiles family is no stranger to growing breeds of cannabis, first hop and now hemp. The USDA paid their hemp farm a visit, wanting to learn more about the industry and local farming challenges, planning to release USDA farming regulations in the fall to help farmers with no state program grow their hemp.
The role of USDA here is to kind of set the framework for states to operate within. So we will have the basic model, but states are free to develop their own programs that could be more restrictive.
Nebraska is one of those states, and farmers may need federal help. The problem is, in order to grow hemp, especially for the use of CBD production, the plant must be heavily regulated for THC potency. The maximum THC levels a hemp plant can have for testing and production is 0.03%. But how will Nebraska farmers know how much THC is actually in their plant? That's a question the Wiles family and any other Nebraska hemp producer needs answered. And to get those answers, you need a lab. And in Nebraska, we don't have any.
And we hope to have those regulations in place in time for states to submit their plans, us to approve their plans, so that growers like the Wileses can operate in the growing season, 2020 growing season under the federal plan and the Nebraska plan.
The Wiles say they have reached out to Douglas County and are looking into testing on their plants, but that could take a while. And for now, they found they can hand deliver their hemp to a Colorado lab to test for THC potency until a lab in Nebraska is made.
That doesn't mean states like Nebraska can't catch up. It just puts them at maybe a different place in the continuum. But Nebraska farmers have shown over and over again that they can, go into new industries.
And Iba also said that CBD doesn't need to be the only focus for hemp production.
The fiber side of it is pretty low risk as far as THC, carrying ability of it. And so I think there's less regulatory hurdles maybe down the road on the fiber side.
Hemp fibers are less regulated on THC levels, and with no lab nearby, farmers like the Wiles can focus on that until they find a permanent state solution. The Wiles family says they're working with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln to research the crop and will explore other types of hemp production other than CBD to see what Nebraska will thrive off of for the time being. In studio, Corinna Fuda, 3 News Now this morning.
This afternoon, Nebraska football announced wide receiver Andre Hunt and tight end Katarian LeGrone are suspended from all team activities indefinitely. The announcement comes just days before the Huskers season opener against South Alabama. Hunt had been fighting for a starting spot at wide receiver, but was left off of Monday's depth chart. LeGrone redshirted last season. Offensive coordinator Troy Walters made the announcement following practice and didn't go into many details.
Why have they been indefinitely suspended? I don't want to get into that. We're going to handle it in-house, so don't want to comment on that right now.
Are they suspended for the same reason, in tandem with each other?
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that. They just would not be a part of the team right now.
We'll make sure to let you know if we learn anything more about these suspensions. The suspensions continue an off-season of disciplinary issues for the Huskers football program. In July, safety Miles Farmer was cited for marijuana. Earlier that month, Markel Dismuke and Jeremiah Stovall were cited during a traffic stop. And in June, offensive playmakers Wandale Robinson and Maurice Washington were both cited for marijuana possession. We reached out to the university for comment. Currently, both players are still listed as students in the directory. Reporting here in studio, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
If you got this card, you were told that if you signed the petition, your information could be sold to a third party. It could affect you getting hired for a job, and you could even be committing a felony. It appears all those claims are misleading at best. State Senator Adam Warfeld says, don't believe the postcards.
1, they're false. 2, they're not legally correct. And then 3, they're just a scare tactic.
The postcard sent out to some Nebraskans urges them not to sign petitions because, most notably, you could be charged with a felony if you don't read all the ballot language before signing. Secretary of State Bob Evans says this is just not true, saying it's on the petition circulator to read the language to you.
If a petition circulator doesn't read all of the language on a petition as required by law, then it is the petition circulator who will get in trouble for not having done that.
He said you could be charged if you falsify your signature by posing as somebody else, but that you almost certainly wouldn't even be charged if you sign it as an unregistered voter.
It's been highly unlikely that such a person would be prosecuted. I'm not aware of any investigations, let alone charges or prosecutions for such things.
As for the other claims, they're not completely false, but possibly misleading. Ballot petitions are public record, but could only become public if a request is made. But if you're registered to vote, all that information is already public.
Well, I'll leave it to other people to judge whether it's misleading or not, but we don't put names of petition signers on the internet.
Warfeld is hoping to lead the medical marijuana petition drive and worries that the postcards already did his side some damage.
I mean, anytime that people misinform other people about the law to try to scare them, it may change their behavior, and that's a big concern.
Our 3 News Now investigative team is looking into the struggles of rural health care. Facilities are running on shoestring budgets. There are closures, service cutbacks. Tonight, we look into OB health services. Jeff Van Sant joins us with more on this story. Jeff?
Yeah, rural health is going through rough times across the country. The biggest challenges facilities face is shifting population. Some areas are growing older, making it harder to maintain OB services for young women. 4-month-old Phoebe is a bit fussy, wanting to nap. Her mother Sarah is there to take care of her. Phoebe is small for her age, born premature.
With premature babies, you never know, which is pretty scary. But she was on some breathing support for about the first 24 hours, but after that, there was nothing.
They're home now in the small town of Arapahoe in south-central Nebraska. Getting to this point wasn't easy. Complications with the pregnancy threatened both their lives.
I noticed that my blood pressure all of a sudden skyrocketed, to very high dangerous levels.
Sarah's treated by her doctor based in Lexington, around 40 miles away. She's diagnosed with preeclampsia, a complication causing a dangerous spike in the mom's blood pressure and could cause a child to be born premature. Sarah needs specialized care and had to move to Methodist Women's Hospital in Omaha, 3.5 hours away.
Move your hand.
She spent a total of 9.5 weeks in the hospital, all this time away from home.
My family, my husband and his family, they're all here. So being that far from home, it was difficult. I had some visitors, which was nice, but you know, they can't stay 4.5 weeks with you.
Sarah's story isn't unique. OB health services can be tough to come by in rural communities. According to the Chartis Center for Rural Health, 152 rural hospitals nationwide have lost OB services since 2011, leaving only 46% that still provide it.
I think it's getting tougher. I think it's tougher to manage a small facility. The overhead costs have gotten worse. The regulations have gotten more difficult.
Dr. Teresa Berg with the University of Nebraska Medicine runs a team of doctors who travel to these rural areas providing specialized care. She says it's hard for these rural areas to have this kind of care because the demand just isn't there.
If I was living in Kearney and only doing what I do right now, I probably would work 1 or 2 days a week. You know, most people, and I have to be on call for myself all the time.
Rural health is a complicated issue. Populations are getting older, shifting, changing, but there's still a need.
Being a rural area, we're used to driving to doctor appointments, eye appointments, hair appointments, for any of our entertainment, for anything. So that's just part of our way of life.
In Sarah's case, she had the time to get to the facility she needed, but if there's a bigger emergency, it's a lot tougher.
But it all worked out.
Sarah now gets to enjoy her little Phoebe, who gets stronger and bigger every day.
It was scary. We're glad to be home.
And Jeff is here now to talk more about this topic. Now, what are some of the factors causing cutbacks in services?
Well, when you look at these shifting populations, I mean, the problem is that younger people are now going to the bigger cities, Omaha, Kansas City, all over the place, and they're not sticking within these rural communities. So, you know, obviously when the population shifts, so do those services, but there's still some young people that are there, and those people tend to suffer. I mean, yeah, you have your practitioners, your regular practitioners who can do regular births, but when it comes to a specialist, if you need something like preeclampsia, you're going to have to go somewhere else.
Sure, and if this is a problem we're seeing that might need fixing, what are some of the solutions they're saying are out there?
I mean, that's what's so tough, is that they're trying to figure out how we could best work this in. So a lot of people, they don't want to travel so far from home to get, you know, maybe to speak with a specialist. So there's a lot of things like telehealth. Mm-hmm. So that's actually one of our next stories, is we're going to be talking to a doctor who does telehealth across the state, even out of the state, and it's pretty fascinating. So instead of someone driving 2-3 hours, they're just sitting at home talking to their doctor there. But you know, when it comes to funding and everything else, I mean, it's kind of up in the air. We talk to a lot of politicians, and it just seems like, well, we just got to figure these things out, and it's basically there's no solution.
Right, and we know it's not just a Nebraska thing. It's rural areas throughout the country. Are there any success stories of places that are doing it differently? So there's Broken Bow actually is beginning to offer OB services once again. So that kind of shows maybe there are more younger folks that are going to be moving into that area. So that's kind of an interesting, kind of bucks the trend. But I mean, the good news is for Nebraskans out there is that we are actually faring a lot better than other states like Florida, Georgia, and other places like that, where services are really getting devastated. All right, Jeff, thanks so much. Obviously, you said that you have other stories coming up as well. It's something you've been covering in the past. You continue to work on.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at telehealth next, and we're going to be actually sitting in a doctor's house. And we're going to be watching him literally, sometimes an emergency situation, give some ideas, or just doing a regular, hey, here's your regular checkup kind of thing. So it's going to be really fascinating.
Yeah, look forward to that. The trade war between America and China continues, with many still feeling the effects of it. But soon those existing tariffs could increase, and another set of them could increase as well. Reporter John Madden has more on the impacts you may see and what items are targeted.
Another day on the farm means another day of uncertainties for Dennis Fouillon.
We don't know who our customers are going to be.
At this point, it doesn't look like China's going to be our customer at all.
Fuyan is a corn and soybean farmer out in Prague. But tariffs on Chinese goods have caused China to retaliate against America by not buying goods like soybeans as they once did. Fuyan believes farmers will still be able to sell their crops, but for a low price.
It's getting harder and harder to keep producers in business.
With the ongoing trade war, more of the same is expected. The 25% tariff on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods is set to increase to 30% on October 1st.
If this is a strategy and the president is successful, then I would say, okay, he was right and I was wrong.
Ernie Goss, economics professor at Creighton University, questions the use of the tariffs and their short-term impacts. And it won't be just farmers, as another increase of tariffs on Chinese goods is set to begin on September 1st and will eventually impact things like phones and electronics, along with shoes and clothes.
The question is, who pays the tariffs?
There's a few different answers for that, but it's not China, as President Trump has stated. In some cases, American businesses will pay that cost, but eventually that might change.
How much longer can these companies, American companies, absorb the increase in cost? And I think we're stretching it right now. So American consumer will begin seeing some of those impacts with higher prices.
Both Goss and Fuyan believe something needed to be done about China and their trade tactics, as Fuyan hopes a deal is reached soon to bring back a sense of certainty.
We need to get back to farming instead of worrying about politics.
In Omaha, John Madden, 3 News Now.
This week, Phil Bergman sits down with new Nebraska captain and Oklahoma State transfer Darian Daniels to talk movies, pregame traditions, and his relationship with his brother on the team, Damian.
First day of school starting up. Favorite first day of school tradition?
My mom, she demands a first day of school picture every year.
Favorite breakfast?
Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Favorite thing about your brother people don't know?
He is overprotective. He is severely overprotective.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie of all time? The Lion King. Hakuna Matata.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
what a wonderful phrase.
Oh yeah. It means no worries for the rest of your days.
It's a problem-free philosophy.
Yeah. Hakuna Matata.
Hey. Better mullet, Coach Gundy or Jack Stoll?
Stoll's got that flow to it, and it bounces.
It bounces?
It bounces. You ever seen him run? It bounces. And Gundy's is just like nice. I'm gonna go Stoll for the bounce. Yeah.
Weirdest pregame tradition you have?
I sit on the toilet for an unreasonable amount of time.
Really?
Yeah. It's like my thinking spot. I don't get bothered. I don't majority of the time I'm not using it. I'm just sitting there enjoying my alone time.
So some people have libraries or locker rooms and you go to the toilet.
Yeah, just go there and pop a squat. I'll probably watch some Indomitian Sue, some Aaron Donald, some Fletcher Cox highlights.
Do you like to sing?
Oh yeah, I sing from time to time.
Favorite song to sing?
My favorite song to sing is Ordinary People by John Legend. Right in the thick of love, at times we get sick of love. It seems like we argue every day.
Dang. If you were to make a boy band out of Nebraska football players, who'd be in it?
Oh, Ace Boogie, Cam Taylor. My brother low-key can sing. I'm gonna have to go Deshaun either.
What would you guys be called as your boy band?
Chocolate Sexy.
I like it. I like it. Hey Darian, thank you so much for joining me. This was
Fill in the Blanks.
Hey, good morning, Courtney and Maya. So here on I-80, and as you guys have both mentioned, we're probably going to see a lot of people on those roads and highways. That highway you see behind me, I-80, and Nebraska State Patrol tells me their main goal is for everyone to stay safe this weekend. Now, the game kicks off at 11 a.m. on Saturday, so you can expect the roads to get pretty crowded early in the morning as people make their way down to Lincoln. Now, Sergeant Tyler Cronky with the State Patrol says that people should be aware of alternate routes in order to avoid all of that traffic. And he says I-80 gets pretty busy on game day, so they want people to remember to merge over in order to keep traffic flowing.
And that's a big thing. We don't want anybody backing up. If there's accidents, it just causes everything to delay anymore, and it causes more accidents. So we just want to get everybody moving, get everybody there safely. Give yourself some time in the morning. I know it's an 11 o'clock game, but get there early, so that way you're beating the traffic.
And as a reminder, we told you that it is drive sober or get pulled over weekend, so expect to see lots of officers, troopers on highways and roads, making sure that people are staying safe. Now, Cronky tells me it seems as though every game day Saturday, those DUI arrests go up, so they're going to be out making sure people are not driving under the influence as they do head back to Omaha. Reporting live near I-80, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now this morning.
The sound only experienced 7 times a year. A Memorial Stadium fills the sea of red. Huge anticipation and understatement.
Go Big Red! But I'm tremendously excited. Football, atmosphere. I mean, where I'm from, there's a college there and they don't have nothing like this.
Go Big Roo!
The game day experience, everything that goes in behind the scenes for a smooth event.
From a facility standpoint, there's not going to be many different aspects that we've had in recent years.
Associate Athletic Director of Event Management Matt Davidson says much will look the same. No big road construction, and bring your clear bags.
Everyone knows you need to be in your seats 7 minutes before the game if you want to catch Tunnel Walk. Most pregame rituals will remain the same, but there's going to be one added wrinkle for when the players arrive to the stadium.
Fireworks will go off from the stadium to tell fans the Unity Walk is starting, now at the bell tower east of the stadium.
And then they'll walk through that lot and enter gate 20. So it'll be a little bit longer of a walk.
Last year's home opener was rained out after the kickoff, which left some fans upset. The athletic department used it as a learning opportunity.
We approach to handle the event and any incident that might pop up in an event, and that is severe weather. We learned some things from last year, but for the most part, we were prepared for an event like that to happen.
A new year, a new team, and a new outlook.
Oh, real excited, just with the whole direction the program's going, with Frost back, you know. A lot of excitement here and just a whole different attitude, it seems to be.
Man, we're going to the Rose Bowl. I'm just so excited for the season.
Reporting from Lincoln, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
It's 7 a.m. While most are sleeping, the Cornhusker Marching Band is busy putting the final touches on their first show.
The football team has a lot of hype around them, therefore that's carried over to the band.
Jacob Coughlin is in his 3rd year as drum major. The Millard North grad is in charge of keeping this group of 300 in lockstep precision to reach high step, horn pop, and drum roll.
We kind of bring the crowd up to bring the team up as well.
Tony Falcone's been in charge for the last 22 years.
There's no place like Nebraska.
Some people want to be Division I athletes. Others want to be Division I marchers.
It's not unusual for when a freshman comes in, they make the band, they'll say, oh, this has been my dream my whole life.
The discipline may be different, but the training's more similar than you'd think.
We spend a lot of time on physical things. They have a full workout routine that we do, a dynamic stretching routine that they do. We talk to them about nutrition, hydration.
If there's anything from playing your instrument to marching to flutter running to running onto the field to our high step.
Like most sports, the band has practices about 8 to 10 hours per week, sometimes more for home games. But unlike student athletes, they're paying for the chance to play. Marching band's a 1 credit hour class.
We pay our 1 credit hour for this class. It ain't free by any means.
They're dedicated. They're loyal and dedicated to the program.
The program, like all at Nebraska, breeds off tradition. A tradition that will carry on this Saturday morning.
And I get to see I play for Nebraska as I walk onto the field to play for Nebraska. So I know it's not quite the same connotation that the football players have, but for me, I take a lot of that into it as well. I truly do play for Nebraska, and I take that a lot of pride in that, a lot of pride in what we do for our school and for our whole state.
Reporting in Lincoln, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
That seems to be okay. A normal job or one helping wildlife? Travis Caldwell chose the latter. He's currently searching rooftops for signs of intruders.
Okay, so you got a piece of bat poop right here. Their body size, they're a lot skinnier, so they can fit into some crazy places.
Caldwell is looking for bats, which are prone to find their way into homes this time of year. This small little hole is all one bat needed to get inside this house.
Don't overlook any little gaps or cracks.
If you do find a bat in your house, call an expert to help remove them humanely.
There's a hole.
Because keeping them alive can benefit us all.
It's been said that one bat can eat up to 1,500 mosquitoes in a night. And frankly, with all the water we've had around here and the explosion of bugs,
It's definitely important to have them around.
Caldwell says if you do find a bat, not to be alarmed.
Bats aren't there to attack you. Less than half of 1% of bats have rabies. There is more instances where, feral cats can have rabies than bats even.
Caldwell helps bats get out and makes it so they can't get back in. A simple but yet important task he enjoys.
Do people call you Batman a lot?
They do.
Yeah.
Yep. I disappoint a lot of children by not showing up in a cape.
I guess that makes me Robin today.
Yep, for sure.
That stinks. I don't even like Robin. I don't think anyone does.
You gotta have him though. You gotta have him.
I guess.
In Omaha, John Madden, 3 News Now.
Stay connected at 3newsnow.com.